heat. Play that heat, man.
If you ever play me, then you only play yourself. Baby, skip the small talk, cause I'm all about the wealth. About to buy a
Back.
Birkin.
Amen. Say man is your boy officially rich. Well, Richard Hall, but also known as Officially Rich. And you are now officially tuned into the Officially Rich podcast, man. This is a passion project turned podcast with a purpose. And that purpose is going to be connecting with other guests and really just diving into what makes them official, diving into, whether it's a brand or a story or a business. We're just going to be getting in the weeds and connecting with folks and finding out how they go about handling their business, what makes them official, what makes them tick, what are some of the struggles they have going on. And really, we just going to share the information, man. This is not about me. This is more so about just connecting with guests, man. I'll say this is definitely a therapy, if you will. This is going to be my creative outlet. So I appreciate y'all for tapping into this first episode, episode 1, episode 0, however you want to call it. It's just going to be about me, man. It's going to be about me. It's going to give y'all a chance to dive into who I am, a little bit about me, kind of my story, especially, over the last couple of years. If you've been following me for a while, you may be familiar with Rich Reviews. This was a previous YouTube iteration where we were doing all types of music reviews, new albums, custom playlists. I had a couple guests on there, man, and really just wanted to take it to the next level. I mean, I ended up stopping for a while, just, a variety of reasons, man. I got a new job. I was working at the bank and didn't really see the bank and content creation lining up. So, it became less of a priority and, pushing the professionalism, if you will, more so became at the forefront. And I just dived right into, that professional field. I was working in the bank for a while, and then ended up working in digital media, working for a company, helping people get websites and stuff like that. So I was in the field, but I wasn't actually doing it on my own. So from there, man, I ended up transitioning to this new gig I got now. I'm working for one of the news stations here in the city, man. If you need any sort of broadcasting advertising, definitely feel free to tap in. But man, I've just gotten this bug back. I got the bug back. So, here we are once again, back in front of the camera, back, just doing the things that we've been thinking about over the last few years, man. The last couple of years, they've been a lot. Life has been lifing, if you will, man. Just dealing with just growing up, graduating and, entering that adult world and, the big leagues, getting a big boy job, all the above. And, life really can have its way with you. And, if you're not ready for it, it can definitely hit you upside the head. So, boy, it's hot in here. Is it just me or is it a little warm in here? It's cold earlier? Okay. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just nervous. I don't know what it is. It's all good, though. No, we're going to keep it going. But, yeah, man, life has just been lifing. And, or had been lifing, rather. Just dealing with a lot of stuff, transition, grief, newfound relationships, man. I ended up getting married over the last couple of years, which is crazy. If you ask that guy who was doing Rich Reviews, if, he was going to be married in the next couple of years, I don't know what kind of answer he would have gave you, but, definitely, thankful for everybody who's helped get me to this point, this process. My wife, all of my friends, family that supported me, and, just listen, just being a vessel for, just the ideas to flow through. Shout out to, I'm not going to do that because I promise you there are too many people to shout out, and I'd rather just have them on as guests. So y'all are going to meet a lot of the people that were instrumental into getting me to this point and getting this here in front of you all. So, stay tuned and, be on the lookout for who's to come next on the Officially Rich podcast. I'd say that's also a great call to action for any guests. If you have any sort of business, brand, story that you want to just share with, shoot, if you just want to chop it up and it's been a while, we are accepting any and all guests. Hit me up, get in contact with me, DMs or, I'm sure from this, we'll have an email at some point. We'll have a website. We plan on this thing growing. So, tap in how you can for right now. If you want to be a guest on the Officially Rich podcast and, we'll make it happen. We'll happy to make it happen. We are here at Mic'd Up Studios here in Charlotte. they are the newest and hottest from what I've seen podcast studio here in Charlotte, man. If you need any sort of podcast recording, editing, clips, anything of the sort, feel free to tap in to Mic'd Up Studios. I think they still got a special going on right now for your first recording. So feel free to tap into them, and you too can be on a podcast. Maybe the Officially Rich podcast, maybe your own podcast, but you too can be in front of the camera, man. Like I was saying earlier, man, this is really just therapy. This is gonna be my creative outlet. I feel like when I was doing Rich Reviews the first time, I kind of stumbled on something and didn't even really know what I was, dealing with. For those of y'all who didn't know, I had graduated from UNC Chapel Hill 2019. Was working for, I don't know if I can say, well, I was working for an NFL team out there. You can check the LinkedIn and find it out. And ended up coming back to North Carolina after that situation that ended right before COVID. And we all know COVID turned everything on its head. And your boy found himself working at Chick-fil-A. So, went from NFL, NBA team, man, to working Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. Would you like some extra sauce and some extra fries with that? I don't know. I felt like I needed to find something to make me feel better about myself, if you will. So, I started the Rich Reviews channel. We were really just in the car and really, again, just going after new music, things that I was already interested in. I sang I guess I still sing, but, in high school and college, I was in different singing groups and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed music, just tapping into all different types of genres, different sounds, and still do tapping into a lot of music. So, you may too hear some Rich Reviews music critiques. The theme song that I'll probably be throwing on here, that you probably heard as it started, is gonna be a song that I recorded. It's called Oh Well. And it's a song I recorded way back in the day, but the lyrics and the words are still pretty potent to, what's going on. If you don't want to rock with me, baby girl, oh well. You know what I mean? So if you don't want to rock with this podcast, go to the next one. It's okay. We got plenty of people on the way, man. So with that being said, man, we were doing the whole Chick-fil-A thing, and I needed an outlet. I needed a way to, feel good about the time that I was spending, as I was still trying to, figure out my next steps and really just navigate that phase of life, if you will. So, COVID, not the necessarily career path that I was looking to go on, that could do a lot to, a young black man. So I really anybody, not just a young black man, but anybody. So, I wanted to really, find a way to express the things that I couldn't necessarily talk about on the clock, or the things that, interested me, but didn't necessarily interest my girl, who's now my wife at the time. So, with that, we started out just reviewing. We were reviewing whole albums on YouTube. They didn't even know anything about, the content copyright or anything like that. And if y'all see me looking out here to the side, we got my man in here, Garrett. He's helping us record it out here at Mic'd Up Studios. But I'm gonna just talk to him, man. I'm talking to y'all and him because he's in here, and I feel weird if I was just in here talking to the ether. So he's gonna help make this episode a little bit better. So, yeah, man, was really just reviewing whole albums on YouTube and didn't really care how it looked, man. I was recording on my laptop that I was using in college and really was just giving my unsolicited opinion. Nobody even really asked for it, but it became something that people started seeking out. It became something that I would go out, even though we weren't supposed to necessarily be going out back then, going out masked up 6 feet apart. And people would come up to me and say, hey, man, I, saw the YouTube, or hey, I saw your review on the Drake or the review with Greg Davis, rest in peace. And really, man, that did something for me. It made me, feel good about what I was doing, the time I was spending, and it made me want to dive in even more. So to be back here at this space, place, and time here in Mic'd Up Studios, man, it feels really good. It feels really validating. It feels, it feels right. It feels right. And, I promise y'all, I don't have any cars. I don't have any, prompts or anything like that. But I really just wanted to get this first episode out so that we can get on to episode 2, so we can get on to episode 3 and keep it rolling. Because one thing that I want to prove to myself with this iteration is consistency and committing myself to something over a long period of time. I'm married now. That was one of the biggest commitments outside of my salvation. But with that, I want to show myself and have this be an example to, anybody out there that, you can commit yourself to something. You can execute on your ideas. If you got an idea out there, and it's crazy because I always watch so many videos and they always say, the first thing you got to do is just get started. The hardest thing you got to do is get started. And I promise y'all, they are not telling any lies. I promise you, I stumbled into, recording this, but they say God doesn't make any mistakes. So I'm just glad that he's ordered my steps to be here in Mic'd Up Studios today, getting this content out to y'all. I don't know how long we gonna be in here, man. I don't have any sort of, parameters or guardrails. Like, this is literally gonna be an extension of what's going on up in here. If you know me, or if you've been around me at UNC or even back home in Fayetteville, I'm a good time, man. I'm a good time, and I like to chat. I like to yap. So I figure what better place to be than on a podcast, man, doing it. And, they say there's over, billions in podcasting. There are billions in podcasting. So, if we can get enough to pay the student loans off, if we can get enough to pay some of this debt off, if we can get enough to live comfortably, that's always a plus. But I'm not in it for that. I'm more so in it, again, like I said, a creative outlet, therapy, and also to shine a light on some of these guests. Some of the people that you'll see on here, you may have seen before. A lot of people you probably won't have seen before. But these are going to be folks who are official in their own way. These are going to be people who have, like I said, a business, brand, a story to tell, just anything that you as the viewer you as the viewing audience can really resonate with and really, take something from. Like, I don't want this to be one of those salacious podcasts where we just get on talking about the trending topics. Like, I feel like we got enough of those. Let's get something of value. Let's get something with some purpose behind it. And again, if we are using this as a way to shine a light on somebody else, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm all for that. So, and, hopefully if beyond that, we are able to forge any additional relationships or, any other sorts of, partnerships. Hey, I'm all game for that too. So, this is going to be, whatever we want it to be, man. I'm not putting myself in a box. I'm not pigeonholing myself. I want this to be literally whatever it wants to be. Not whatever it wants to be, but whatever I will it to be. I would hope that this podcast is not the same at 27 than when I'm 30, because we're still going to be doing it at 30. We still going to be doing it at 35. We might be in Officially Rich Studios by then, but with that being said, we want this to be something that's going to be ever changing. And, we want it to be something that is, shining a light on folks. We want it to be something that is, beneficial and impactful. We want to provide some creative content for other folks who may not have the courage to step in front of a mic. They may not have the courage to start a podcast or do something for their business, but, they could come on and have a conversation with your boy. And if they get some viable content out of it, that's a plus. That's a plus. So today we are taking that first step, man. Episode 1, Officially Rich Podcast. We are here in Mic'd Up Studios, man. Again, I don't have any sort of agenda, man. We just gonna keep it going. At this point, as far as music goes, I like any sort of, let's take a step back. Let's just dive into a little bit about your boy. I feel like we've gotten, who we are, out of the way. We've gotten, how we got here. So let me tell you about your boy a little bit, man. Richard Hall Jr., Richard Henry Hall Jr. I got an old ass middle name, but that's okay. I got an old man name. I've been told I got a president name. I used to be the guy, I would show up on the road when they would call attendance and they'd be like, oh, that's you? And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, now that's you. But yeah, man, Richard Henry Hall Jr., man, emphasis on the junior. Rest in heaven to my pops, Richard Hall Sr., and also some of my other angels that, again, helped get to this point, man. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Rest in peace to my brother, groomsman, flower man, Greg Davis Jr. or excuse me, Greg Davis the second. We gotta edit that. We gotta get my man's name right. Greg Davis the second. And I'm emphasizing that specifically because his son, uh, Gregory Barber Davis the third, my godson, was born actually 2 weeks after he transitioned from the earth. So definitely want to just pay respects where respects are due. But man, with that, man, originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina, 2-6, and made it out here to Charlotte. Went to E. E. Smith. If anybody knows where E. E. Smith is, definitely one of them schools right across the street from Fayetteville State. But we repping them Golden Bulls, man. Repping the Golden Bulls. I was involved in sports. Or let me just say this. I was on the team. I was on the team. I was not, All-American, anything like that. I was on the team, man. But I did play baseball all 4 years, varsity. You can check the stats. But yeah, man. No, please don't check the stats. Please don't check the stats. They are abysmal. But with that, I found a interest in, just a love for sports, anything involving sports. I was on the team, but, it's funny. I'm thinking about this now, man. In seventh grade, I actually had a class project, and our class project was to create a dream T-shirt. Shout out to anybody if they ever made a dream T-shirt. But with that dream T-shirt, we had to think about what we wanted to be when we grew up, and we had to design a T-shirt that replicated the steps that it took to get to that dream, if you will. And I put, of course, what every young guy wants to be, or maybe not what every young guy wants to be, but I wanted to be an NFL star. Now, if y'all see me, I'm not anywhere close to 6 foot, so NFL dreams quickly, went to the wayside. They say you made a lot of money swinging a bat, but your boy I like to eat, so I was not as fast around the bases. So I love the team camaraderie, the team aspect of sports. The life lessons that you learn from sports. I made a lot of friends in sports, or a lot of my fault, man. Made a lot of connections in sports, man, that I still keep up to this day. And ended up going to UNC Chapel Hill to study sports. I actually started out studying. It was athletic training. I wanted to go be athletic training. The movie Just Right with Common and Queen Latifah had just come out, and I'm like, oh man, I could do that. That would be dope. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then didn't want to do all the schools, so I said, sports doctor, athletic training, right? So I go UNC first semester. I did not know how to schedule any sort of classes. I only had 4 classes, but I was taking intro biology, intro econ, a music class, and an African American studies class. When I tell you those were like the 4 hardest, or like the hardest 12 credit hours ever, and nobody really told me, but I would find out that I had messed up when I would go tell people my schedule, and they'd be like, why did you do that to yourself? But the biology class, that was a big change, going from, maybe 20 people in a class to 300-400 people lecture halls, and, teacher assistants, and, clickers and all this stuff. I'm not used to any of that. So I that was my first semester, and I didn't do the best in transitioning. And so I quickly, had to realize, okay, if you stay down this athletic training path, there are going to be a lot more classes just like this, and they're just going to get even harder. So I said, man, let me see what else I might be able to shift or transition into. And ended up getting into sports administration through the exercise and sports science path at UNC. So we went from the athlete to the business of sports and everything else that goes on off the field. So facilities and sports law and sports psychology and sports marketing and sports sales. Ended up taking on that job with the NFL NBA team. And really was I wanted to just make sure that I had a job in something that my degree was in. So I feel like I didn't waste it, to be honest. And was that the best experience for me? I had a lot of fun. And like I said before, we ended up at Chick-fil-A not too long afterwards. So, and shout out to everybody out there, man, who's, again, helped me to get to this point. It's funny. I used to tell people back then, as I was transitioning out, one day you might see me on a TV. So, one day you might see me on your laptop, stay tuned. So, but with that said, I remember back then telling my girlfriend, my wife now, I want to just be. I don't know why this came to me like that, but I just said I want to be famous. Like I didn't even know what that meant. Didn't even know, how I was truly defining that word. But we ended up kind of coming to the definition or my definition of like I want to be able to move and shake as I go city to city, place to place. I want to be able to go to a place and be able to tap into somebody or tap into a resource there or somebody I know or somebody who I've come across and, then be able to utilize me as a resource if they ever come to Charlotte or vice versa. Again, really just a connector. And I feel like that's me, man. If you've come across me at UNC, I was the connector for a lot of different things, a lot of different people, a lot of different moves, so I feel like from that, I've taken a liking to just being in front of people and just having a natural ability just to chit chat. So I feel like this is a perfect storm all these years later that's coming to this Officially Rich podcast, man. And again, who knows where we're gonna be? Who knows where this is going? I feel like I'm on a tangent right now, but that's usually how these podcasts go, and that's usually where the gold is somewhere up in here. So again, man, this is just we're gonna be getting up reps. We're gonna be getting up reps at the gym, man. We gonna get it started, and we have gotten it started. We've been in here now for about 20, 30 minutes now. So if we were to stop this right now, I feel okay and I feel good, but shoot, let's see what else we could talk about. From sports. I love music. We were talking about the sports. Love music, man. I remember some of my earliest memories of my brother. I have an older brother who's 10 years older than me. He would drive me up to the bus stop and he would be bumping like old school Cassidy, old school T.I. Like, I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler, homie. Like real old school, or not even old school, but I guess that's what was popping in. But like, I guess now it's all considered like if you talk about anything before 2015, they talk about it as old school. So, with that, just really grew an appreciation for music, man. I was one of those kids that had to sing in the choir as a kid. It wasn't a choice. They were like, yeah, you're going to the choir practice. And actually fell off of singing for a while after I kind of grew up a little bit, and I kind of told my mom like I don't want to do that anymore. And we changed churches, and I digress. But with that, I ended up maybe in high school, yeah, like in high school, just playing around, and how everybody. Or well, the people that can sing a little bit, they like to joke around with each other and see who can sing this or sing that. And I remember he was the chorus teacher at the time, man. Shout out to Dr. Ramel Brooks, who got me back into singing, man. He's an opera singer, man. He's a bass. He sings down here. He talks like this, but he really gave me, and shout out my boy Aaron Whitaker, the courage and the access to do something with the talent that we didn't even really recognize that we had. So he gave us the opportunity to basically get an A and come and sing in the one of the choirs at school, and ended up liking it, man. Ended up liking it, learned a lot about music, piano, keyboard. I know my way around a scale or two, and it did that for like the last 2 years of school in high school. And then from there, ended up going to UNC, like I said, and joining Harmonics, which is an a cappella group on campus. And, I think they're still around. Shout out to Harmonics. If all my HMXers or honorary HMXers, man, we was the bee's knees. We was it. We was it, man. You can look us up on YouTube, Harmony X, Harmonics. And you might see your boy on there leading a song or two, a little rap or two. But my groomsman, Greg Davis, he was also in Harmonics with me as well, man. So, again, just kind of finding those like-minded people and, latching on to the things that we were naturally interested in. And again, this is an extension of, all those different versions of me. This is me finding those like-minded people and tapping into the things that we're genuinely interested in, whether that's their thing or whether it's my podcast. Like, we want to just make those connections, forge those connections, and really see how far we can take this thing, man. Honestly, I'm only 27, man. I'll be 28 on July 1st. Yes, that's right. My birthday splits the year and a half. I have one of the littest birthdays out there. Argue with your mama or argue with whoever, but I have one of the most littest birthdays out there, July 1st. Shout out to all my cancers, cancer men. And also, one thing that I realized, a lot of great folks that you might see, out there right now doing podcasts were born in July, or a lot of big personalities were born in July, the early parts of July. I think Kevin Hart's birthday is like right around mine. Charlamagne the God is like July 2nd or something like that. Deontay Kyle does the Grits and Eggs podcast. His birthday is July 4th. So definitely I find the pattern and we pick up on it. So, again, it just feels natural. It feels right. Garrett, we in here just flowing, man. I'm just in here shooting it, man. And, again, right. And the thing about it is, man, I grew up saying I wanted to be an NFL player. And then once I realized that the NFL dreams weren't going to work out, I ended up getting cut from the high school football team. Man, hold on, yeah, I gotta back up a little bit. I gotta tell this story because this is it. Like it's kind of sad, but I I was coming from a classical school, and at the classical school we didn't have any sort of sports at all, and I grew up living right behind the other local middle school that had sports. All those guys were playing football. One of my homies, he ended up being the quarterback at JCSU. He actually left my middle school that we were at and went on to go to the high school, or excuse me, the other middle school to play sports and whatnot. And, he was, his dad was our like rec league football coach. And, shout out to y'all, man. I really gave it a go. And they were saying, yeah, man, come in and work out and, come and do this and do that. I was dealing with, being a little fat boy at the time and my self-esteem and whatnot. And I wasn't trying to work out and all that. And it was tough, man. They was out there whipping ass. And, those summer workouts, I grew a real appreciation for anybody that's playing football because they were up at the crack of dawn running and doing all types of up downs. And I promise you, man, I gave it a good summer, or excuse me, the first part of the summer. I gave it that, maybe about 4 to 6 weeks, those summer workouts at the beginning, man. And I was literally everybody made the team with the exception of 2 people. And one was me and one was another guy who then, ended up making the team a couple years later. But man, I was like, man, like that's kind of tough. And I mean, people were coming up and telling me like, man, that's messed up, man. You the only person that got cut. But again, I feel like I don't know, man. Everything happens for a reason. And who's to say, where I would be if I did play football that summer. But one thing I did go do was go get a job. And, I learned how to work and really learn how to, go after and find these different opportunities because while everybody was out there sweating, I was making a bag at Chuck E. Cheese. Shout out to everybody that ended up working at Chuck E. Cheese after the fact. But with that being said, man, really... I forgot what part of the tangent I was on. We were talking about sports, music, getting cut from the team, man. But yeah, shout out to everybody that played football. I forgot where I was going before that. We were talking about like music. It's all good. We forgot about it. I'm sure it'll come up in a future episode, man. Stay tuned to the Officially Rich podcast, man. You'll end up finding out, all about your boy, man. We gonna chop it up and we gonna share. I feel like my story is a very, it's not super unique, but there's definitely been some things that have happened that I don't know if happened to anybody else. So, if we can find out other stories, find out other people, find out about other people. And again, you able to take something from this, man. Yeah, so you can tap in on Instagram at It's Officially Rich, ITS Officially Rich. That's my personal page. And you can also tap into the podcast at The Officially Rich Podcast. Again, ain't no telling how many times we're going to be posting on there. We definitely going to have some footage to post after today. So again, shout out to y'all, man, for tapping into episode 1. This has been episode 1 of the Officially Rich podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.